Today we're going to take a look at 5 veteran running backs for Dynasty Fantasy Football. We're going to do a quick market watch, analyze the player values, what to do, buy, sell, trade, or hold, and go over the long-term player values of these running backs. Before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're talking about Dynasty Fantasy Football every single day this offseason. We're going to help you build your teams. Also, during the NFL Draft starting tonight, we're going to have live reactions on the players getting selected, and it's going to be a bunch of videos getting posted tonight, Friday night, and also Saturday and Sunday on top of that, after every night of drafting. So after round one, we're going to be ranking the players. After rounds 2 and 3, we're ranking the players. After the final rounds of draft on day 3 on Saturday, we're ranking the players. That way, when you're drafting on Sunday, you're good to go. And I got to advertise that right now so you know that, so you know what's coming your way. I would hit that subscribe button right now so you're good to go for your rookie drafts. But digging into our first running back today, Joe Mixon, and per ADP, per DynastyLeagueFootball.com, RB21 off the board, and that's a great value considering we're looking at running backs in small windows. Also, when we look at his ADP, it's on an upward trajectory, and I imagine that's only going to increase going forward, and I think the buying opportunity is really over with. I don't think people are looking to sell him, and I also think people are going to be looking to sell more than RB21, considering there could be some good production going his way with CJ Stroud and company. The market loves this team. The market knows Joe Mixon is set up to get a good workload. He's set up to see a lot of work in the passing game. There's a lot of upside here. Of course, we're looking at running backs for the short term, so the market doesn't really care. But if someone does care, they see him pushing 28 years old, then you know what? Maybe you can catch him on the cheap. I highly doubt it. I think he's going to go up in value the closer we get to the start of the season. The last time to really strike is now once your rookie drafts get hot, but that may not go in full effect if a lot of these players don't go to good landing spots too. Joe Mixon, RB21, I still think that's a good value. I think that's going to go up here in the next few weeks. I look for him to get a good workload here with the Texans. I look for him to hold some value. I look for him to have running back long-term fragility when it comes to value as well. So we're looking at him in a short window, and we know he can be productive multiple RB1 weeks last year. We should see that again here with the Texans. Ramondre Stevenson, RB22, and he's getting drafted in the same range as Joe Mixon. He can be productive. I would like him a lot more cheaper. I think the time to sell was 2 years ago in 2022 when he had over 1,000 yards rushing and was one of the top running backs in the league when it came to targets. I think that train's over. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I don't think he's going to hit 1,000 yards again. And if that happens, it's not going to hit a second time. That being said, if you can get something for him, go ahead. But he's getting touches. He's getting workload. He could get nuked in this draft. It's almost over for Ramondre Stevenson. He's almost done. He could get nuked in this draft. They also brought in another running back in free agency. I don't think he's going to touch 1,000 yards again. 3 RB1 weeks last year. I think RB22 and ADP is kind of high for him. If I can catch something to move up in the draft, funnel picks to 2025, whatever I can do, this is an asset I would get out of. He is still getting used quite a bit in the passing game, 12.8% target share. That's okay for a running back, but still everything else is kind of mid. I think his time was in 2022. I think that was his upside. I don't see us getting there ever again. I just don't see it. This team's retooling. They're rebuilding. They're going to get a new quarterback. They're going to want to build around that quarterback. That means bringing in another running back, bringing in more running backs, getting more wide receivers. Just this is going to flip on its head. NFL teams are not going to be clamoring for Ramondre Stevenson. He can give you probably one more year of production, and that's going to be ho-hum, up and down like we saw last year. Probably going to see what you saw last year, this year. If his situation can remain the same. Ramondre Stevenson, though, is a guy that I'm selling out of. Tony Pollard is an interesting asset right now, being valued as RB23 in the rankings of ADP, and we're seeing his value slip, especially compared to this time last year. Everybody was really excited about him. He did eclipse 1,000 yards, and he did have some RB1 weeks last year, but he had a lot of down weeks as well. Now we're going to the Titans. He's going to be sharing the backfield with Tajay Spears. He can be used in the passing game. He is explosive. Is he going to get that Derrick Henry workload? No. No, this is going to be a good split between him and Tajay Spears. They may bring in another running back because running backs are cheap. You might as well. And it's good to have multiple running backs on the roster. We could be seeing more competition come in. We could. I'm not betting on it, but we could. And he barely eclipsed 1,000 yards last year. He had those dead weeks. He had those dead weeks that killed his dynasty stock. Everybody soured on him. You can look back on the stats and you can tell yourself a story because of that. But in season, people were soured. People were waiting on him to come back, make his triumphant comeback and start being fantasy relevant again. But after that run of production, we did not see anything else until the fantasy season was over. Could be up and down this year. I would like to catch him on the cheap if I was going to use him for a short window. But also, if his value starts to creep back up, he's gone. That being said, Tony Pollard is very volatile in Dynasty Fantasy Football. He's actually a scary asset to have on your team. Let me know what you think about him in the comments. Alvin Kamara at RB25. The contract and age is an issue for the long term. But if you're playing in a small window and you're looking for money ball running backs, you're getting a running back here at almost RB3 price and trade, at least in ADP. If I have him on my roster and I'm somewhat competitive, I'm not really looking to deal him because the price coming back at me isn't too high and the production is grand. If I'm a losing team, a bottom dweller, he's got to go. He's got to go quick, like a falling knife. I'm not catching that with my hands. However, if I'm competitive, I'm looking at him at RB25, possible trade avenues. I'm trying to get him, especially for this year. He's used a lot in the passing game, almost 7 targets a game, 19% target share. We're running on half the routes. We're getting a good opportunity share, almost 70%. A lot of rushes per game, almost 14 carries a game on top of 7 targets per game. He's used a lot in the passing game, 86 targets last year with Derek Carr there. That should remain the same as long as he's healthy, as long as he's on the field. If he's on the field, he's going to be productive. I like running backs who can be productive, and I know they're going to be productive, and they're also cheap. Who cares if it's 1 year or 2 year? That's usually the time span for most running backs outside of Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Breece Hall. That being said, I love this price tag. I'd pay to get him if I'm competitive. If I'm not competitive, he's gone. He's gone. The price might go up getting closer to the season, so maybe you want to play that game and hold for a higher price. Or you may want to wheel and deal during your draft and get some picks, get some liquidity, see what you can do with your team to build, funnel some picks in 2025 and 2026, allow you to buy a running back on the cheap mid-season or another position of value mid-season to get you through a few games. Maybe you want to do that. But Alvin Kamara here with the production, you cannot beat that for that price at RB25 at ADP. You can't. I can't see him being very liquid in trades because I'm not dealing him away if I'm middle of the road or a top-end team. I'm just not doing that. That's just not happening. That's not possible. He's staying put because I'm not getting much coming back at me. And if I get something coming back at me, nice. More than likely not. Like a second, a late second. Once you get in the latter part of the second round, it ain't too juicy anymore. You know you're getting production here. You're getting almost 90 targets. You'll probably get about a 20% target share this year as long as he's healthy on the field. That's good to go. I'm loving that at that price tag. And if I'm competitive, I'm rolling with that. David Montgomery, RB26. And the thing about this is he lost some of his production when Jahmyr Gibbs started to hit. But even though it's RB2 production, it gets you by. It gets you by 15.2 fantasy points per game on the whole season. The back end of the season is more like 13-ish. But still, it gets you by for what you're paying here. And you can catch him for a good discount and trade. Maybe the Lions draft another back. I highly doubt it because they're good at the running back position. They got to spend equity at other positions. He's not getting used much in the passing game, but he's getting used a lot at the goal line. And if you want to money ball your backfield at the running back position, go cheap. This is a guy to look at. This is a guy to pay attention to because they're going to move the football. They're going to be in the red zone. He's dirt cheap, and you can probably catch him for cheaper than RB26 price tag right now. This is a running back you can manipulate in cost due to the market, due to the rookie drafts, due to the rookies increasing in value. That's going to push him down a little bit in some leagues. Not all leagues, because some people like to play money ball like I do, and you want to with your running backs because you're working in these short windows. But he's a guy you may want to look at on the cheap. If I'm a rebuilding team, anybody that's outside of Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Breece Hall, pretty much got to go if I can get something back. Pretty much has to go at the running back position. Anybody. Devin Achane can probably stay unless I'm getting something grand coming back at me. Or you may want to move those running backs if you're catching a windfall. That being said, if you can catch something for them, sure. If I'm competitive, yes, I like them on my roster on the cheap, and I can build with wide receivers. Cheap running backs is what you want on your roster, considering the fragility rate, considering the injuries, considering how long they last in the league. That being said, RB26 price tag may be cheaper in trade. If you kick the tires to see what comes back at you, is always good to look at. He's not going to win you your league, but he's not going to hurt you either. And at cost, that's not too bad, not too shabby, and it's not a call. We're playing money ball. We're looking for cheap running backs. We're going to look at a lot of cheap running backs, not just the top guys. We're also going to talk a lot of strategy. But remember, the NFL drafts tonight, we're going to be talking ad nauseum about these players getting selected, their player value. We're going to rank them multiple times. That way, you're good to go. We're going to rank them overall. We're going to rank them by position. We're going to rank them for Dynasty. We're going to rank them for anything. We're going to rank them for how well they bake cakes. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to be ready for your rookie drafts. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video.